And the soprano doesn't die 14 times, she only dies once. And she doesn't even really die, she just faints. So, you sort of play around with the storyline.
This is Dan Forbes with episode 2 of Sound Designs, Learning Music as a Game Changer. Who is Gerald? I have Dr. Gerald Case-Blanchard in front of you. He is the professor of voice and head of the music department at Kellogg Community College in Battle Creek, Michigan. Gerald, when did you first start learning about music? How old were you?
Actually, I would have to say I can't remember when I first started, because my mother said when I was 1, and she just recently told me the story and I thought it was very funny. When I was 1, she heard me singing, sitting on the step of our home, playing with one of my toys, and I was actually singing in tune. And she spoke to her mother and said, "Do you hear him?" And my grandmother apparently said, "Yes, that is my baby. He is a musical person." And that was probably where it all started. From that moment on, my entire family just gathered around me and sent me, as I got older, into high school, where I studied music at the High School of Creative and Performing Arts. And then from there, it's history, right on up through college and then teaching professionally. But music has always been a part of my life. My mother was a professional singer. My grandmother was a professional singer and musician. She played the piano, the drums. I have uncles and aunts who are all singers and musicians, so I grew up around music.
Yeah, very good.
Why does voice interest you the most out of all possible instruments?
That's a good question. I would say, number one, and I always tell everyone this, it's the original instrument. It is the first instrument, and it is also the most intimate instrument. The voice is the thing that speaks from the soul. When one sings, one is giving of themselves, and there's no filter, nothing to hide that. Whether you sing, in quotes, in tune, or you sing for fun in the bathroom, or you actually have the ability to sing on a professional level, we are all singing from within. And the voice is that thing that speaks to the heart or speaks from the heart. And it's, I think, the best way to connect with other humans. And we speak, and singing is just an extension of speech.
How did you find your path as a professor of voice and then a department head?
That's funny. Well, I went to college originally to go into nursing. But I believe it was the end of my sophomore year, my academic advisor called me into his office and said, "We noticed that you are here as a nursing major, but all of the classes are music classes and maybe one science class. And we really need to change that." And I gave it some thought, and I realized that's because I really don't want to go into nursing. I want to go into music. So I joined our concert choir at Bloomsburg University, where I originally went to college. And I was just absolutely smitten by choral music. But then I also took private voice lessons, and I saw my first opera when I was a freshman in college. And I was just bitten by the bug. And from that moment on, I decided that's something that I think I could do for the rest of my life and be extremely happy and excited about. And that's what I did. I decided that's what I love. I love to sing. I love to get other people singing. But I thought I would be a singer, just a singer, not a conductor, which I am, not an opera director, which I am. I thought I was going to be a singer. And it wasn't until I came to Michigan, and I had done some conducting and stuff on the side, but I did mostly singing. I went on an international concert, several international concert tours. I sang at Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. I premiered some works with Opera Delaware. And it was great. That's what I thought I was going to do. But when I decided to go to grad school and I came to Michigan, the state of Michigan, I went to Central Michigan University where I got my master's in voice. At that point, I was also given a teaching assistantship where I was asked to conduct the women's chorus and also be the assistant choral conductor for the concert choir and the chamber singers. And I found out I really loved that, but I still just wanted to sing. And then I went on to Michigan State and got my doctorate and took on several roles as a voice teacher at different colleges and universities throughout the state as an adjunct professor. But then when I finally got a chance to sing at a church, and the choir director at the church, I was their section leader, the baritone section leader, and the choir director retired and they needed someone to step in. And I took on that role and I realized I really love conducting. And my life sort of shifted from only singing to singing and conducting a lot. And then my current role at the college, where I have been for 21 years at this point, I was able to do almost everything I wanted to do. The Battle Creek Symphony is right down the hall from me, so I'm one of their soloists. I take my choirs on concert tours. We actually just came back from the Baltics a couple of weeks ago from a 10-day concert tour over the 3 countries. So I get to do that. I'm on the American Choral Directors Association board. So I get to use all of my skill sets and my passions, and it's sort of an amalgamation of things. I'm not just one thing. I love singing, I love conducting, I love teaching, and it all comes together where I currently am.
Great. What was that first opera that so inspired you?
La Traviata. It was La Traviata. It was a touring company of the Metropolitan Opera Company that had come to Bloomsburg. And I had never seen a live opera. I have seen it on PBS, I heard it on the radio, but I had never seen it live. And when I saw the spectacle, the costumes, the backdrops, and the voices just filled that 2,000-seat auditorium, I was mesmerized. And that was the moment I said, this is what I think I want to do. And the rest is history. 13 countries later, performing as a soloist. That's great. I love doing that as well. But I also enjoy teaching and connecting with my students.
Excellent.
What community project are you most proud of?
Back in the, I want to say late 90s, right before I moved to Michigan, because I moved to Michigan in 98. So in 98, right before 90, so I would say 97. 97, I partnered with a couple community organizations in Westchester, Pennsylvania, where I was living, to take opera into the schools. So I would do opera projects. I got together some of my singing friends and we would take opera to middle schools, to high schools, to community centers, and that was fun. And then I decided, after I got back off of tour and started grad school here at CMU, I had to give that up. But when I got to CMU, I partnered with the Midland Symphony, and I did the exact same thing with just a new group of people. And for me, that was a very proud moment, because that's something that the symphony continues to do to this day. And I started that back in 1999 with the Midland Symphony when I first partnered with them. And they're still doing that project. I don't direct that project anymore, but it's something that they still do to this day. It's called Opera in Under an Hour. And I love seeing that I had a little part of making that happen.
I can't even imagine opera in under an hour. It just blows my mind.
Basically, they take the storylines and they trim them down, truncate them in many levels, just to keep it basic, because it is for young people. So obviously they don't get into the nitty gritty of all the plots, and the soprano doesn't die 14 times. She only dies once, and she doesn't even really die. She just faints. So, you sort of play around with the storyline, and it works for kids, and they get to participate. You teach them little excerpts from the choruses, and the way they're doing it now, is a little bit different. But when I was leading that program, I would have the kids, select kids from the school choir to come up, and I put them in little costume pieces and, teach them the melody of a chorus. And then when the opera performance ends, they all come up on stage in their costumes and they get to sing. And that was so much fun because the kids were like, wow, I was on stage with professional singers. And, we actually had members of the symphony there playing. So it was really exciting.
What did your pre-college private lesson experience look like?
I was very fortunate because I studied with Julian Rodisco, who he's deceased now, but he was a major singer with the opera in Milan, Italy. I have studied with Marianne Casiello at Curtis Institute. And all of these were, before and in between my college time, just so I could learn about my voice. And I wanted to learn more about opera and how to not only be an effective singer, but I wanted to learn about teaching, how to teach, classical vocal technique, but also have that be able to transition to any style of music, because as we know, there's some basic tenets: breath control, what I call physical alignment. People call it posture. I don't like using that word. Physical alignment. All of those things, they are paramount for any kind of music that you sing, and it's going to help you produce a much better sound. And I wanted to see how those things are taught using the bel canto technique, which is the technique that I use, and be able to translate that to someone who wants to sing country music or someone who wants to sing contemporary Christian music. What things can I pull from those classical moments of my training, both collegiate and non-collegiate, and then be able to apply to just a standard lesson when I'm teaching someone who doesn't want to go into classical music. And I think that has really helped make me a more rounded kind of a teacher, because I teach students in a wide variety of different kinds of vocal genres.
Well, I hope you enjoyed meeting my friend Gerald. Please join us for part 2, where he's going to give us some life hacks and practical tips.